Hello. I want to welcome all of you here today. So please, in the chat, you can leave your questions in the chat. I want to give this platform, open this platform for us to answer all your questions that you have with regards to your F1 visas, your J1 visas, and any other visa type you are preparing for. So you are welcome. All right, so someone sent me a question on Facebook Messenger, and I want to answer that question quickly. So you are welcome to my channel. My name is Alfred and as many of you already know, today we are going to talk about visas. We are going to talk about answer some of the questions you have about your visas and how you can prove yourself at the embassy about one, your financial capabilities and your ties back home. So I want to give this space for us to answer some questions and give you the opportunity to ask some of the questions that you have. So please, if you are on, leave your questions in the chat. I'm going to start by answering some questions I have in my personal inbox. And I know some of these questions cut across, so most of you would be familiar, or some of these questions will answer most of your. So Akosia is asking, greetings, hope you are fine. So please, if they ask, what is your relationship between your course done at the degree and your course to do at the master's level? So in that case, I have explained in some of my videos that, first of all, are you going to, is your master's a top up of what you have already done in your undergraduate studies? Or is it a different program altogether? Like myself, I did a different master's program. from my undergraduate studies. I did Bachelor of Commerce in the University of Cape Coast, and I'm doing theology currently. But at the visa interview, when I was asked questions about why am I switching from accounting to theology, I explained that I am involved in church work. I am a volunteer in church, and I feel called into the ministry of God. So that is why I am switching. And I believe that the theology will help me to become a pastor as I desire, and it will help me serve my church. So, Akosia, in your case, you have to know what you are going to study and how does it connect to your current degree. If it doesn't have any relationship at all, is there any reason? Maybe you aspire to be something in future, and your masters give you the opportunity to be that somebody. So always connect it to your career goal and see how your basic degree gives that requirement. Sometimes it may be that your basic degree and your masters do not match. However, your basic degree gives you the basis, because you already have that kind of academic basis to prepare yourself for your masters. So it's not like you are throwing your masters away entirely. No, you are just providing that platform. You are just providing that platform that will give room for you to better yourself in your master's program. So that's what I would say with your question, Sister. And let me see some of the questions I have in my chat. Okay, so Samuel is asking, said, I established a company last year. Is it advisable to mention it during an interview session? Yes. So first of all, what is the company about? Does the company has any relationship with what you are going to study? If so, that is the perfect point. That is the perfect way to explain your ties back home. So you explain that you have already began by starting a company, and you are going to study in order to get the required skills, required knowledge, and the profession to manage the company. So it is important that you go with documents, you go with registration documents if you have. In case the consular asks, then in that case, you show it to the consular. So you explain, and if in that case also you'll be asked to explain the number of employees you have, the monthly income or annual income you have. It's just a new business, so monthly income probably. And even if your monthly income is not attractive, you just have to explain to the consular your vision through that company. You just have to explain to the consular your vision and how you think that will help you to achieve your dream. That will help you after your studies to coming back and coming to manage your business. Another aspect will be, so as you are leaving your company, who is going to manage it? So you have to prepare for questions like that in terms of who is going to manage that company that you just established. So you can talk about your brothers, you can talk about your parents, you can talk about your wife if you have. You can even talk about your girlfriend, and you can present a memorandum of understanding, prepare something in the form of memorandum of understanding just to explain why you think your company will bring you back to your home country. I think that is a very wonderful ties back home, that you have already started something, you have already established a business. It shows that you have connection in your country. It shows that you have interest in your country, and you not take the opportunity or the advantage of going to stay in someone's country. So that is for Sylvester. So this person also asks, let me find this question. My estimate amount that the school is expecting me to have is around 20,654. And my sponsor has about 33,000 US dollars in his account. Can I present this? This is a very good question. I always tell people, whatever bank statement you present to the embassy, after that amount, proposed amount you need for your studies are taken off, you should bear in mind that you should get about 2 of that same amount in your account. So, for example, if you require 20,000 for your studies to meet your I-20, it explains that in your account you should have 60,000, so that when you take off the 20,000, you'll be left with additional 40,000. Because the fact that somebody is sponsoring you does not mean the person should deplete his account. I shouldn't use all my money in my bank account to sponsor you. When it happens like that, it raises flags. Excuse me. Let me adjust the camera small. Good. Yes. All right. So as I was explaining, when you go to the embassy or when you present your bank statement for your I-20, the school might be okay and issue you the I-20. But when you go for your visa and the consular per chance takes your bank statement and look at it, then he or she realized that after you have used the money in your bank statement to cater for your studies, it will be left with just $10,000. I don't think that is enough. Though you may have a good case, but that is not enough. At least if you are expected to give 20,000 to support your I-20, you should have at least 40,000 or not at all, additional 20,000 left in your account. I think that would be very helpful and that will help you. I hope that answers your questions. Sylvester is asking, I want to know the exact date visa will be issued. When you present your visa when you go for interview and you are approved, averagely visa is issued within 3 working days, right? So you give yourself 5 working days. So if you go for visa interview on Wednesday, you should expect your visa to be ready at most by the next week, Monday or Tuesday. Some people, in my case, I had my visa issued within 3 working days. So I went for visa interview on Wednesday. My visa was ready on Friday for pickup. So that is the time duration. It depends, and I don't know some countries, but for Ghana, I had mine within 3 working days. Let me see the other questions I have in my chats. Okay, so this person is asking, said, I own a boutique and I have been traveling to Dubai and Turkey for my staff and have traveled to China twice. I have my own business registration certificate and my bank account and 2 cases. How do I prove my ties back home? Can you advise me? I am paying for my trip. I have friends in the United States, but I'm not planning to stay with them. I'm going to stay for a month. Just want to increase my traveling experience. So I think this person has a high chance of getting a visa because she is a regular traveler. She has traveled to Dubai, China, and I don't think based on this question, I don't think she has overstayed. She had any legal issue. So since you are going to sponsor yourself, you need enough money in your bank account to show that. And of course, you have already stated that you are into buying and selling. You go to Dubai. It means you have a lot of money anyway. So it shouldn't be a problem. You just have to gather the right documents and go to the embassy with vim, confidence, and defend why you are going to visit America. It's just for tour. You are going to just visit, so you need just a hotel booking. You have to book a hotel, print the receipt out, then you book. You fill your DS-160 form. You book your B1, B2 visa interview appointment. Then you go. Yes. Okay, so Michael, if your sponsor lives in the US, what is the probability of getting a visa? In fact, I have had a lot of these questions. If your sponsor is living in the United States, it is okay. In that case, you wouldn't have any problem proving finances, because in the United States, the person will give you an affidavit of support, bank statement, a letter, and the embassy can easily verify whether the person account is genuine, and that is a plus to you for you to get that opportunity. But the disadvantage is proving your ties back home, because you have already shown that you have ties in the United States through your sponsor. If your sponsor is a family relative, a family friend, and all that, you have to explain why that person is sponsoring you and why you think you will not stay after your graduation. So in that case, you can use a business. The person, if the person has a business in your country, or if the person is doing something, or if you have you are currently working, you have an employer who is willing to issue you a letter to prove that after your studies you come back. That is a plus. But in case you are not able to fulfill all this, I will advise that for the purpose of visa interview, because you just need you only need the visa. All right. So because you need the visa to come, and when you get the visa, whoever pays your fees, no one cares. Whoever sponsor you, no one cares. The most important thing is getting your visa. So if for the purpose of visa interview, you can get someone from your home country to give you bank statement for the purpose of your visa interview, that will be fine. In that case, you don't indicate to the consular that you have even ties in the United States, and sometimes they base on that to reject people. But I believe people go for interview with their sponsors in the United States, and they are able to defend themselves well to get the visa. So I don't know if, Michael, that answers your question. Then what if a person's the person sponsoring is your husband in the United States? Yes, that is a very good question. In that case, when you go, you don't have to lie. Because if your husband is already in the United States and you go and your husband is sponsoring you, in that case, your case is a little bit different. Because one, the consulates believe that whilst you are married, you are entitled to legally live with your husband. It is your entitlement. That is why if your husband is a permanent resident or a citizen, he can file for you to come and join him. But if he is not a permanent resident or a citizen and he is sponsoring your education, it makes sense. You should only have to prove why your husband is sponsoring you. And that is easy to prove. Maybe your husband is interested in your career. Your husband wants you to build your career, and he has the money and the fund to sponsor you. I think that is a good and a perfect way. In terms of proving your ties back home, it depends on the status of your husband in the United States. If your husband is a permanent resident or a citizen, you shouldn't lie that after studies you want to join your husband, because it won't make sense to tell the consular that your husband is a citizen and he has the right to file for you, and after your graduation you leave your husband in the United States and come back to your country. Any consular will think that genuinely you are lying, unless you prove that you and your husband have plans of relocating back to your country. But in case your husband is not a permanent resident, your husband is not a citizen, in that case, you have to prove that you have plans with your husband to return to your home country to do this, to do that. So that the consular will believe that you are not just moving to join your husband, but you have plans to coming back to your home country. I believe that answers your question also. Let me see the next question I have here. So Akosia is asking, so how do you answer a question on the DS-160? Who is paying for the trip? Is it the same person sponsoring your tuition fee? Yes. If on the DS-160, whatever you put on as your sponsor should correspond with what you put on in your I-20. So your sponsor is basically not just about your tuition, but whoever is sponsoring you, paying your flight tickets, your insurance, and all that. So on the I-20, there's nothing about flight tickets and all that. It's just about your in-house expenses. I mean, when you come to the United States, the expenses that you have to incur. However, on the I-20, whatever you put, whatever you put on your DS-160 form should correspond with whatever is on your I-20. That is why some people get rejected. There are some people who on their I-20 have their sponsor to be personal fund. On the I-20, they have their sponsor to be personal fund. But when you come to the DS-160 form, they have stated that their uncle is sponsoring them. That is a contradiction. That does not make sense. So you have to be clear about that. If on your I-20 you have stated that your sponsorship is family sponsorship, you cannot go to the embassy and tell the consulate that your employer is sponsoring you. These are some of the common reasons why people are rejected. People's visas are not issued. You have on your I-20 that your sponsor is a family sponsorship. Now you come to the interview and tell the consular that it is your employer or the government of Ghana, or it is a family friend who is sponsoring you. When you do that, it is going to affect your chances of getting a visa. So you have to be mindful about that. Sister Akosia, I hope that helps. So Samuel Daniel, please, I failed in my I feel that my dad, I feel my dad as my sponsor in my DS-160, but my dad and my mom are sponsoring me. I want to present my dad's bank account and my mom's bank statement. Can this affect my visa chances? So in that case, when you go for the interview and they ask you who is sponsoring you, you tell the consular your parents. Because if you have your father or your dad on your DS-160 form as your father is your parent. It's part of your parent. So you are not wrong. You're on the right path. Just get their bank statement, go to the embassy, tell them that, yes, my parents are sponsoring me, my father and my mother. It is okay. Your father is the head of the house anyway in the Ghanaian context. So it doesn't make, you are not wrong. You are just on the right path. You just have to explain why your parents are sponsoring you, why it is important for them to raise that money to sponsor you. So I think you have nothing to worry about. Someone is asking, so as a research scientist, government organization, I have been issued a supporting letter from the Director General. How do I link this supporting letter to tackle my tie back home? So what is in the supporting letter? Is the supporting letter a letter of commitment? If I say a letter of commitment, it means that either the government agency, the director is speaking, saying in the letter that he or she is on behalf of the organization committing specific amount of money into your studies, or he or she is making commitment by giving you employment after your studies. So you should be clear on what kind of letter you are receiving. Is it a letter of sponsorship? Is it a letter of employment? Or it is just an introductory letter explaining that you are working with them? Even in any of these cases, I think you have a good case by explaining that you have a government agency that you seek to work with after your studies. So if the consular asks for proof, then you give him or her the letter. Sorry. So I think it's a good case you are building. But if I knew the kind of sorry, if Forgive me. If I know the kind of letter, the content in any way the director gave you, I think I could have been able to issue a good response to that. But however it is, I think it's a good way to show your tie. I don't know the studies you are going the studies you are going to do in the US, or what you are coming to study. If you are coming to study research in science, I think it's a perfect way to link it with your ties back home with the letter. Somebody is asking for my WhatsApp number, and in fact, I do well with Facebook Messenger. So look for Alfred Appear on Facebook Messenger, and on Facebook, yes, and send me a message. I'll respond. I'm always on Facebook Messenger unless I'm sleeping. I chat with Facebook more than even WhatsApp because of the visa processes and all that. A lot of people do not have my contact, so I don't spend time on my WhatsApp. So I spend much of the time on my Facebook page. So what is the best response to why your uncle is sponsoring you? One thing that I have realized is that most people go to the interview and they ask the question, why is your uncle, why is your brother, why is your father sponsoring you? And the response they give is, my uncle is sponsoring me because he has been taking care of my studies, my education, all this while. No, don't give that answer. If you give that answer, that is not an answer. You just have to explain to the consular how your uncle is interested in your career goal. For example, you are going to study engineering and you want to be an engineer. So you explain to them that your uncle has always have the desire for you to be an engineer, and he has always given his commitment any way he can help you become engineer and help your country. So don't just say my uncle is sponsoring me because he wants me to because he has been responsible for sponsoring me. No, don't say that. Explain to the consular how your uncle is interested in your career goal, and how your father or your uncle wants to make sure that you become a responsible person by living your career goal and helping your society. That is very, very important, I must say. Please kindly explain how to show strong home ties when asked to prove that you will come back home after studies. So, home ties, as I explained in one of my videos, my recent videos, is very important. And there are so many ways you can prove your home ties. Either you use your finances, economic home tie, or family home ties, or employment home ties. People who are married, who have businesses, and who have assets can use their marriage, their children, their properties as a home tie. People who are not married can use employment ties. Employment ties does not necessarily mean you having employment. It means you explaining to the consular how your studies will be relevant for the job market in your country. So you are going to study accounting, you are going to study history, or you are going to study journalism in order to come and work maybe with Media Ghana or whatever. You explain that you have a strong desire to work with a specific organization in your country, and you believe that this studies, this opportunity, this masters you are come to do in the United States will give you the required qualification for you to get your desired employment. And I think that is how you can go about it. Good evening. How do I go about visa to work in the US? For work visa, it should be either that you have a job offer in the United States. I have a friend who have a job offer through the UN. So for him, he has a job offer that explains that he has been given employment to come and work in the United States. I have seen some nurses who have had job offers through some agency and they had to come and work in the United States. So for you to get a work visa, it is more or less you coming to stay, right? So you have to prove that you have a job offer or you have won a lottery or something. Other than that, that will be difficult to go about. Yes. Employment, getting employment and job offer in an organization or a firm in the United States is a very big step to go. So you can move around and see how you can apply for some jobs in the United States. I think through the UN organization, a lot of people get employment and job offers in the US. You can check the UN website, the IMF website, and see if you qualify for any of these jobs. Please, I want to know when US Embassy in Ghana will start issuing tourist visas. Upon my recent checks, I think no date has been issued. As at now, we don't know when. So I tell people who want to come for visit, it depends on the type of visa or your purpose in the United States. If it is B1, B2 visa and it is a funeral, and the funeral is in December, you can start filling your DS-160 form, everything, and wait for when the embassy will open. Our advice, don't pay the visa fee, yes. See when the embassy will be open before you pay the visa fee. As at now, we don't know when the embassy will be open, but I believe now that the COVID is normalizing in the United States and people are being vaccinated, I think very soon they will give room for people to come for visitors visas, right? Okay. I have a friend. Okay, let me come with this. Sylvester, please, can you show us the exact month the U.S. Embassy in Ghana going to resume issuing visas to the general public? They issue visas in Ghana. People are going for visas, especially student visas, right? So if you are going for a student visa, you can book for an appointment, and if you don't get an appointment date, you can book for emergency. Emergency appointments are only approved 45 days to the start of your school. So if you are starting school in November and you book emergency appointment now, it will be disapproved. If you are starting school in early September and you book emergency now, it will be disapproved. So book emergency 45 days to your start date, right? So if you have to report to campus on, let's say, 7th August, you are within 45 days. So you can book for emergency now and you will be approved. I have a friend living in US. She is 54 years old and has been willing for me to visit her. This has been a tough time for me. How can I go about applying the visa and it? So in that case, you need a letter of invitation from the friend in the United States. Then you also think about sponsorship. Are you going to pay for your trip, or somebody is going to pay for you? Then you think about ties back home. Since it is a visit, you have to explain that you come back. You do that by, in terms of visits, through employment, through an asset business. I have explained that your ties, how to explain your ties in one of my videos. You can check. That is a very wonderful video. I love it. I love it so much. So you can check that video. But for visitors visa, that person in the United States will have to give you what do you call it? Invitation letter. Then you have to know where the person stays, the person's address, basic information about the person, because if the person is your friend, you have to know him or her. Also, you have to know, explain where you met the person. Is the person a US citizen? Has the person been to your country before? When was the last time you spoke to the person? Some of these questions will come out during the interview. And what are you going to do when you come? Where are you going to sleep? Do you know the address and all that? If the person is sponsoring you, you explain how your visit is so important to the extent that the person is sponsoring you. I think that's a very wonderful question, and thanks for asking that question. So, Sean, I think I've answered your question. I don't know that answers that. How do I answer this question? Why should I grant you this visa? This is a very big question. And I tell people, you begin to answer this question by explaining your career goal. When I was asked why should I be issued this visa, I told them that I have always been passionate about I remember I came for theology, so I told them that I have always been passionate about pastoral care needs of people in my community. So in Ghana, for example, you see that we have a lot of false prophets, false pastors in the system. I explained that I want to be that unique pastor that will bring liberation, that will be a counselor to so many, especially the youth and people in my own circle. So I believe that when I'm given this opportunity to study in the United States, I will have that cross-cultural exposure, broaden my horizon and perspective in order to come back to help my society and achieve my career goal. So when they ask you, why do you think I should give you the visa? Talk about your career goal. Talk about your profession. And talk about how your studies meet your career goal and how your career goal is important, not just to you, but to your entire community. So this is a very important question. And I think most people ask this question. So when you go and they ask you, why should I give you the visa? You have to explain and talk about your career goal. I am going to the United States maybe to come and study criminal justice. The US is known for its investment in research and all that. So you believe that studying in the United States can prepare you to be a good attorney, to be a good lawyer in your country. You can also talk about the job market, how studying in the United States uplifts you, give you a special image in the job market and in the field that you are pursuing. So Francis says, hey, I have been working with private organization. I'm going to study biology science degree, and my father is sponsoring me. What can I give if I will be asked back to my home? So the biology science, is it a basic degree or it is a master's degree? I think if you clarify for me, it will be very, very important. If it is a basic degree, this is where you will be asked to explain why you are not pursuing it in your country, but you have to come to the United States, and why your father is sponsoring you. As I said, you can explain that your father is interested in you becoming whatever, maybe a biological scientist, and you are hoping that after your studies you can even come back and work with Noguchi. Noguchi is in Ghana, right? It is your career goal, career objective. It doesn't mean you even have the letter from Noguchi. If you have letter, fine. But you're just explaining how your studies is important for your career goal and how your studies has space in your country. That is important, space. Explaining that whatever you are going to study is relevant for the job market in your country. In your case, if you are not married like me, if you don't have a wife, children, you don't have that kind of ties, I think that's the best way to prove it. So please, can you provide your statement in attachment to your sponsor statement? Yes, you can. So if you have enough money in your statement by somebody sponsoring your father, you can say that my father is sponsoring me, but I have also saved to cater for any miscellaneous, any expenses that will come. That is a good point. So you shouldn't worry about that. If you have enough money in your statement to sponsor yourself or to add to whatever you are doing, that is very, very good. All right. So the next question. I am 16. What ties to my country would they expect me to show? If my tuition, the weather is too hot here, so I'm sweating, forgive me. If my tuition is 15,000 USD per year, will a bank statement with a current balance of 15,500 be approved? I have said this already, that when your tuition is 15,000 and your bank statement is 15,500, it is not enough, because when we take off the 15,000, you'll be left with just 500 US dollars, which is peanuts in the statement. So I think you can talk to other people and see how they will help you. Your age should not be an issue. If you are 16 years, I think you have to verify whether you have to go for the interview alone. Because if you are 16 years, you are considered as a minor, right? You are considered as a minor, and you need to go with your parents or your guardian. I have to check it. It seems when you are below 17, yes. So in that case, you will be considered as a minor, and you go and they ask, your father will be answering the question, your sponsor will be answering the question. Sometimes it's good, right? And sometimes they can direct some of the questions to you anyway. So that is also an option. Please, my I-20 was sent to me through email. Do I need to print it out? Yes, you have to print it out. So if your I-20 is sent to you because of the COVID, every I-20 is sent by mail, right? Email. So you have to print it out for your interview. It's 100% assured to pay money to an agent to get a visa for you without going for an interview before. No, that is not true. No agent can give you a visa without going for interview. Even Joe Biden cannot give you a visa without going for interview. So if there's an agent to help you, it is okay when the agent say, I want to help you with filling your DS-160 form and all that. But no agent, it's a scam. No agent can help you get a visa without going for an interview. I've not met that kind of agent. If you have one, let me know and let me see how he can be of help. But just be careful, it's a scam. Currently, master's student and got full funding PhD in US. Is it okay to go for the PhD? And what do you think can I give the reason for my perspective? Wow, congratulations. If you get a full funding PhD in the US, it's a big opportunity. You know, I tell people that the higher your studies, the more likely you have in getting a visa. It is unlikely to see a PhD student who is fully funded who go and present himself at the interview being rejected for a visa. Because as a PhD student, you are coming to do a research. You are a research student, and US are interested in researchers, people who can contribute to the research field. So you have to just feel happy, get your documents right, go for the interview, explain why the PhD is important for you and how it connects you back to your home country. Maybe you want to become a professor, a lecturer in Ghana or in your country, right? So the PhD is what you need. You have masters already, so your case is simple. I think you have a good point. Fully funded PhD is a good opportunity, and I'm highly certain that if you do things so well, you are most assured of getting a visa. Yes, most assured of getting a visa. Congratulations in that regard. I wish to study medicine, but you know, in the US, you have to go through pre-med before you go to the medical school. If I'm asked that what courses I'm going there to study, what do I say? I have a little knowledge about medicine. I don't know the course requirement for medical students. As you said, some people have to write some exams in order to qualify and be admitted in the US medical school. So I don't know much about that, and I don't know if you have an admission and you are going for visa and all that, I may be able to answer. But in terms of what courses, I may not be in the best position to answer that for you. I'm sorry, brother Sammy. So please, in that case, can you prove that you can pay for your trip with what you have in your statement? Yes. If you have enough money in your statement, you explain that you have saved for your studies, right? You have done your personal savings over the past 3 years or 4 years to sponsor your studies. You did investment, students or studies investment, and it is maturing, and you want to use it for your studies. You just have to prove your source of fund anyway, whether you are working, you are into business, and how you got the money. I think that's what you need to prove. But if you have the money and the finances to sponsor yourself, I think that's the best possible ways. If all of us can sponsor ourselves to study, it's good. We just have to prove why we have to spend so much money to sponsor ourselves. As I said, your career goal at this point will be important. With respect to my letter of support, the director stated my competence and my impact on the organization and how my masters in the said field will help the organization as a whole. I think that is good. So you are already employed, right? So you explain that you are going to study in order to come back to work in your existing employer. So in that case, you are showing employment ties. It doesn't matter who is sponsoring you. You are showing employment ties and why you will come back. You just have to prove why the person is sponsoring you so much interested in sponsoring you and all that. Okay, I think that would be wonderful. It must to share names, you and the person who is funding for you like relatives. Is it a must to share names? I'm not getting your question so well. If you can resend your question, I'll be grateful. I'm a hairstylist. If I show my own savings and tell them I'm a hairstylist, will they think that I will go into the US and become a hairstylist while going to school? So in that case, you are explaining that what you are going to study does not have any connection with your hairstyle, whatever. So you can explain that after your degree or whatever, you have your own competence. You have your own job of being a hairstylist, and you save towards your studies. Aside your skill, your personal skill of being a hairstylist, you want to pursue your career. And because you have nobody, or because your parents are not in a position to sponsor you, you have saved for yourself and you want to sponsor yourself, go and study to come back and take care of your parents, especially those who cannot take care of you, right? So that's a good connection to coming back to your home country. So please, I think don't be bothered. Don't be worried that you are a hairstylist and you are going to study. You just have to prove why you think your studies is important, irrespective of the skills that you have. The fact that you are a hairstylist does not mean you shouldn't pursue accounting. You shouldn't pursue economics, right? So I think even in the long run, you can connect. I don't know the course you are going to study, but you can connect it with your hairstylist and the course and see how relevant it will be for you coming back. Can one know reason for rejection? Do they tell? Usually when you ask them, when I was rejected and I asked, they told me that everything is in the letter they gave. The letter is just rules, so many things that they write. There's no specific connection, right? So sometimes, as I said, in one of my videos, I talked about it. You have to look at what went wrong. What were the questions that were asked? So sometimes it will be based on the questions that they ask you that will pre-inform you what they require, what answers they want you to answer, right? So that is important. I want to ask, please, I want to ask, can I get emergency student visa without denied? I don't understand the question. Can I get emergency student visa? Are you talking about emergency appointment, student appointment, or please, if I think Matilda, if you can explain further for me. Do you know World Mission College of the Greater Washington in Virginia? No, please. I don't know about it. Maybe I can search on Google and everything will pop up if there is. How to convince the consulate to intend going back to your country? Can you give example? Okay, so in terms of convincing the consular about you going to study and coming back, you can talk about employment. I've talked about it. Do you have employment? Is your studies connected to something that will bring you back? I explained that I'm coming to study theology in the United States in order to come back to Ghana to work with my church as a pastor. That was my point. Some people explain that they are coming to study journalism in order to return and become journalists in Ghana. So you connect it with your objective, your career goal. If you have if you have a family ties, your parents are aging, your father is into this business, so you are going to study in order to come and help your father. One of the ladies I talked about who had a visa explained that she is going to study management in order to come back and manage her father's clinic, her father who happens to sponsor her. So I think it depends on your situation. So so far, these are some of the questions that have come. I want to thank all of you. I don't know if you still have some questions. Matilda was asking about emergency appointment. So in that case, emergency appointment, as I said, is approved within 45 days. If you go to the Ghana, I am saying this in the context of Ghana. I've not read the other website of the U.S. Embassy in the other country. But in Ghana, on their website, they have stated that emergency appointments should be within 45 days of the start date. So if you are starting school, for example, in October, and you book appointment now, emergency, it will be rejected. The idea is that they want to pay attention to people whose studies are closed, who, for example, they want to pay attention to people who are going to school in June, in July, right? So if your studies, you are going in August, they believe that you have time. So within 45 days from the start of your studies, when you apply for emergency, you'll be approved. Samson is asking. I'm asking the second time in case you didn't notice. Can applicant ties with his country? Are you talking about ties back home? Oh, okay. I get you. So you are asking that can you connect your answer with ties back home if the consular does not ask? In one of my video, I talked about this. That no consular will ask you what is your ties back home. No, they won't. But when they ask you questions like, why are you going to study in the United States? They are asking your ties back home. So I'm going to study in the United States in order to get the required skill to return to my country to work as an engineer. You have explained your ties back home. So the question may not categorically come as what is your ties back home. The question usually comes in who is sponsoring, why is the person sponsoring, what are your plans after school? And when these questions are asked, it explains, they want you to talk about your ties. They want to see your ties. And don't forget that when you fill your DS 160 form, you show your ties back home. Like all the information you put your DS 160 form, they're able to access and know your ties back home. The sun is shining at my end, so the video will look a little bit shiny. Sunny, right? Don't worry about that because the sun is setting at this point. Now, let me give one tip, one most important tip. When you go for the interview, first question they ask you, what are you going to do? What are you going to do in the United States? These are some of the questions they ask. Please don't say I'm going to study. It's not the answer they expect. Yes, they know they are going to study. That's why you have I-20. Tell them, so what are you going to do in the United States? I am going to, let me use myself as an example. I am going to Columbia Theological Seminary to study Master of Divinity in order to come back as a pastor. That is what they expect. But when they ask you, what are you going to do in the United States? And you say, I'm going to study, you have given a red flag. That is not a good answer. Talk about specific. I'm going to study in Michigan, or I'm going to the United States to study MBA in Michigan University. Straightforward. Don't just say, I'm going to study. It's broad. Be specific. That is one tip that I will give to people. Also, when you go for the interview, don't be so interested in showing documents. If the consular have not asked, don't show any documents. It can affect you. Because US embassy is in such a way that the purpose for the interview is not to assess your documents. They want to assess you as a person, what you say, and how what you say makes sense to them. So it is very, very important. Lastly, when you go for the interview, please Don't pretend as if you think about the questions before you answer. Let them know you know what you are about. Be specific, be straightforward, and be smart. I tell people, the consulators can be mean sometimes. Sometimes I don't know the criteria they use to assess the visa. So aside everything, I don't know your faith. Whether you're a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Christian, whatever you believe in, you must pray for favor. You must pray that God will lead you. You must pray for luck, because sometimes you do your best, but the consulators, I mean, some of them are not in their good mindset. Some of them are I don't know how to put it, but what all that I'm saying is you just have to have confidence. You just have to trust in your God that the consular do not have the right to determine your future. Whatever God has appointed and want you to be, whatever your God has destined you to be, is what should stand. The consolers do not have the final say. That's what I mean. Your God, your faith should give you that confidence. I have F1, F2, but I want to travel alone. Then my family follow later. My interview is in this month. When filing the S-160 form, at the space where they asked if I'm traveling, I stated no and filed. Okay, so in that case, you are explaining that you are going alone, right? So it's good, because sometimes when you go with all your family, it raises a flag in terms of your ties back home. So in your DS-160 form, don't show that you are going with your family, right? Leave it. Don't present that, and don't present the F2 visas. Sorry, the F220. Don't present the F220, because you need the I-20. The F2 your spouse and your children. So don't present it. And as you said, when you are able to get your visa, your family can come through your F1 visa. I filed my wife and children, but I will go to the embassy alone. Will it affect my? So is it in the record? Have you filed DS-160? Sorry, there's a passing by motorbike. So have you already stated in your DS-160 form that you are going with your wife, your family, and have you filled their forms? Then that will raise a red flag. You should be prepared to answer why your family is no more going with you. In that case, you should be prepared to answer that. I believe that helps. So let me leave my email. Appear Alfred211@gmail.com. Right? My Facebook is Alfred Appear. Good. So let me answer the last question, then we will bring this to an end. Please subscribe and let me know if you like this by giving me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, right? Share it with others and let them also have the opportunity to know what they have to do. I am doing this to help everyone. I'm doing this to help my people, my friends, and everyone, especially Africans who are struggling to get their visas. I'm just trying to make time for everyone and help out. You know, in my case, I didn't get people to help me. That's why I want to help others. So please subscribe for me. Does transferring to a cheaper university after going to US affect negatively to get the next visa? No. You know, in the US, there's nothing like cheaper university. So when you go to the for example, when you're going to renew your visa, they are not going to ask you why you transfer from a cheaper university. No. So far as you get your visa and in the right process, you get the right transfer with the right school, accredited school, and you get admission, your I-20 will be transferred to that school, right? So that new school will be the host of your I-20, and that should be enough. You don't have to worry if you have not done anything illegal. you don't have to be worried when you are going to renew your visa. You have just shown that you transferred. Maybe you explain why you transferred. Maybe when you came, the current school that you wanted to study, your research interest did not match. You later realized that the professor you wanted to work with resigned or went for a sabbatical leave, so you had to transfer in order to get a school that worked with your research interest. This is a good reason. It doesn't matter the cost. So that shouldn't be a problem, my brother. That shouldn't be a problem. I'm not traveling alone, but I will go to the embassy alone. How will I explain that? So you explain why you filed, you are not traveling alone, and you are going to the embassy alone. So in that case, you can explain that your financial situation have changed, right? You can explain that if your husband, Priscilla, right? So your husband, you can explain that your husband did not get approval from his job. He didn't get the leave or something. Your husband later realized that when he quits, he's going to incur what do you call it legal whatever, because he has issues. He has contract with his employer that he has to fulfill. That is a good reason. So you decided that you go alone, or your financial situation have changed, or something has happened. Your husband or your children, your children did not get. You also considered the schooling, right? That the timing of your travel will affect your children's schooling. So you think that you should prioritize their schooling at this time instead of they going with you, and explain how your husband is going to take care of your children if your children are minor, right? I think that's important. All right. So if you make a mistake on the DS-160 form once you have submitted, can you retrieve and make correction and resubmit? Yes, there's a way to make correction. So you can make correction or fill a new DS-160 form and submit. However, this is the most important thing. When you make correction or you fill a new one and you submit, the confirmation code will give you a new confirmation page. The submission confirmation will give you a new code. That code is different from the old code, and you use the old code, the one you made mistake, the confirmation code, to book for the interview. That's if you have already booked for interview, because when you book for interview appointment, they will give you a code, and that code must match with your DS-160 confirmation code. So if you print and submit a new one, you should make sure that you go into your appointment, you log in, go into your appointment, and change the code to the new code you have on your DS-160 form. That is important. If you don't do that, and you go to the embassy with appointment, interview appointment, different code, DS-160 confirmation code, different, you will not even be allowed to enter. The securities will not prevent you to enter at all for you to go for your interview. And even if they don't see, the consular will not pay attention to you. You'll be asked to go back and correct it. So please pay attention to that. So my uncle is funding me for nursing. I sometimes wonder that I will answer if they ask me why is he funding me. Interview is in 3 days. Wow. So I wish you all the best in your interview, Nemo. If your uncle is sponsoring you, explain. In this case, don't just say that your uncle is the one taking care of you, right? Explain that your uncle is sponsoring you because he or she wants you to become a nurse. He is interested in your career goal of becoming a nurse and serving in your community. You can explain that even in your entire community, no one has come out, or no one is a nurse. No one has gone into the nursing profession. So your uncle has always been committed to making sure that you become the first and only person in your community to become a nurse. It is a pride for him and your family. That is a good way, right? So think about some of these things and answer them. So please, I will leave the live streaming here. I have left my contact email and Facebook account on this. Contact me on Facebook and let's dialogue, let's chat more, and let's see how we can help each other. Do subscribe and share with other friends. There's a question: how can your DS-160 form be retrieved and the necessary connection done and I think when you log in, I've forgotten the process, but please just send me what do you call? Send me a Facebook message. I'll take you through the process, or I'll get you somebody to help you, and you'll be fine. Okay, so that you know what to do. All right. Thank you. So my email finally is appear Alfred. Let me see if I can copy. This is my email, and this is my Facebook ID. Oh, sorry. My Facebook ID. Where's my Facebook ID? Facebook. Good. Sorry. I want to pin it, right? All right. So, guys, thank you so much. God bless you. Those of you going for interview very soon, I wish you all the best. I'm waiting to hear your good news in my chats, and I want to celebrate with you. Okay, when you get your visa, let me know. I'll give you some tips as to how you can pack and prepare and come to the United States. If possible, I'll come and give you a ride. Okay. God bless you so much. Do have a good day. Let's chat in on Facebook, and please do subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.